when I first found hypnosis, I was like super skeptical. If this actually worked, why wouldn't they have taught me this in nursing school? But I was so desperate to try anything on, and did all of the pre-work for the hypnosis and really put everything into it. And then I woke up the next day after the hypnosis, and normally the first thoughts that I would be thinking would be, where's the coffee? What am I going to have for lunch? Everything else. But this specific morning, I knew that those thoughts would normally be the ones I'd be thinking about, but they were not controlling me.
Welcome to Mastery Podcast with Dr. Sass, formerly A True Goddess Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sass. This is a podcast where we awaken you to express your true essence. My intention is to lead humanity to flourish as true divine beings, living an empowered and abundant life, inspiring each other to expand our authenticity, master our lives, and rise to confidently live our true purpose. Leslie M Thornton is the founder and CEO of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. As a certified NLP trainer, hypnotherapist, and coach, she is a leading expert in holistic health. Leslie's program helps hundreds of individuals overcome emotional eating and achieve lasting change. With a background in nursing and coaching certification from the International Coach Academy, she has developed a unique methodology that combines hypnosis, personalized coaching, and transformative experiences. Leslie's approach addresses the root causes of weight struggles and creates a supportive community. If you are ready to break free from yo-yo dieting and experience true transformation, stay tuned for what Leslie has to share so you can embrace a new chapter of confidence, self-love, and vitality through permanent weight loss. Let's meet our special guest, Leslie M Thornton. Welcome to Mastery Podcast with Dr. Sass. Today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Leslie M Thornton. Leslie is a founder and CEO of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Welcome, Leslie. Thank you so much for being on Mastery Podcast. This is how we master our health, our life.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And Leslie, I know we did that introduction for you, but can you tell us a little bit about your journey to become the hypnotherapist for weight loss? And I know you have a personal journey that you had to overcome and becoming the specialist yourself. Can you let our listener and our audience in a little bit on your story?
I would love to. Yes. So science was kind of my thing. So obviously as a registered nurse, and I came from a family that had a medical background. My dad is a physical therapist, my mom a nurse as well. And so that was just the norm for me. And I was told at 8 years old that I had a slower metabolism than my sisters had, and was taught about portion control and, that I needed to eat differently than other people did based on how my body was made up. So I started Slim Fast shakes in, 4th grade, and I was doing Weight Watchers by 8th grade, and did everything. Did Atkins, did South Beach, was bringing salads to school, started working out at the gym at a very young age. And what started out to be just healthy habits accelerated into more of a mental obsession and fear of weight gain overall. And I started to come to find that my happiness, my self-worth was really based on what my weight was. And I got to the end of my rope in 2010. I actually was studying abroad in Oaxaca, Mexico for nursing school. And it was the first time ever in my life that I looked around and I was like, nobody knows me here. I can eat any way I want. Mom's not watching the way that I'm eating, right? And family's not around to judge me or say anything. And so I just allowed myself to be free during that time. And I gained 30 pounds in, I think, 4 months. And I claimed to be fat and happy. And I was like, I'm never doing another diet again. Until I was then just feeling unhappy eventually, where I had acid reflux and I was having digestive issues, etc. And really didn't know what to do about that. And I ended up finding hypnosis in this place of surrendering, because I basically said to myself, I'm either going to figure out how to be fat and happy forever or I'm going to have to really figure this out. Because how come some people, don't have to deal with this and I do? And found hypnosis, in that space of surrender. And when I first found hypnosis, I was like super skeptical. If this actually worked, why wouldn't they have taught me this in nursing school? But I was so desperate to try anything on, and did all of the pre-work for the hypnosis and really put everything into it. And then I woke up the next day after the hypnosis, and normally the first thoughts that I would be thinking would be, where's the coffee? What am I going to have for lunch? Everything else. But this specific morning, I knew that those thoughts would normally be the ones I'd be thinking about, but they were not controlling me. I had the ability, for the first time ever in my life, I felt like I was sitting inside my body, and I felt like I could make the choice whether or not to have those foods or not, which for me was a miracle. And from that day on, I just got so fascinated by what else can the unconscious mind do? What else can I create? If I could get over this decade and decade issue with food, body, and weight overnight, what else could I do? And that's when I ended up finding, neuro-linguistic programming and coaching, hypnosis, and getting trained in all those modalities as well.
Wow. Amazing journey that you've been through. And I know, living in America, right? People are so self-conscious about how they look and, how much they weigh. And some people just get on the scale every day. And it goes back for you. It goes all the way back to your childhood and, how you were feed all this information, right? And it's not necessarily it's true. And believe it or not, genetic can be changed. Genes can be changed. And there's a book called, I think it's called The Genie in the Genes or something like that. The Genie in Our Genes. But that was like a long time ago when, one of the, clinician or scientists come up with that. And now they prove that, it's more than just your genes that dictate, right? How your health is, how your body is, and in this case, it's your subconscious mind. It's the story that you've been told, that you believe, right? That you must let go. And, that was in when we spoke, if I remember correctly, was it in 2011? Or around that time when you found that out?
Yes, the hypnosis. Yep, I found it in 2011. Yep.
Yeah, and was that in Mexico?
No, that was actually in San Francisco.
Oh, wow. And you fell in love with it because it worked for you. And you told me a story where you weren't looking for coaching anybody, but people were just asking you, how did you do it? And it was just fascinating for me too. I was like, did they like put you to sleep, make you do stuff? Did you forget things, And when people think about hypnosis being, it's like being put under, can you clarify that? It's not that scary, is it?
No. Yeah, you can't make anybody do anything that you don't actually want to do. Mm-hmm. You can really think of it like an air compressor. It's like right now you're thinking the thoughts you're thinking based on your past and your upbringing. And that those thoughts that you're thinking are causing you stress or anxiety or causing more weight gain or more stress eating or whatever isn't working in your life. And so then you might choose to hire a hypnotherapist to actually work with you on getting clear on what do I actually want to create, what matters to me. And then together through the work and through using hypnosis or any other modality, you actually come out on the other side of the hypnosis with your unconscious mind now being present to what's possible in the affirmative of what you actually want to focus on that's going to produce the results you want to get, which then gives you a different result.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. And if people want to experience just like a tiny bit of what this would look like or would feel like, do you have like some hypnosis like try that you give away for free, like you can text somewhere and download something?
Yeah, on our website at hpwl.co, we actually have a free training that inside of it also has a mini hypnosis session that people get results from. So anyone's free to check that out.
That's awesome. Yeah. I would encourage you if, you know, anybody listening to this, if you are struggling with, losing weight. And Leslie, you told me that most people know what to do, right? They know what to eat. They know what's healthy. They know that they need to exercise, but they are not choosing to do all the things that is healthy for them, do for whatever reason. And going through this hypnosis therapy actually help them kind of choose whatever they want, right? And nobody can make them do what they don't want to do.
Correct, 100%. It's the same thing as if I said to you, you know, please stand up. You know, if someone didn't have any real issue why they couldn't, you know, we know that there's no harm that's going to be caused to us if we just stood up. So we would just consciously choose to say yes and stand up. But if I told you to cross a busy road blindfolded, you'd immediately have a heck no reaction, I would hope, and not do that, you know, and call me a crazy person or whatever. So it's the same thing that if, you know, you heard any suggestions that you had of something that your values were against or anything like that, you would be able to just reject it and not receive it. Your conscious mind can wake up to it and won't cause any harm.
Nice. So for those who are afraid, they don't need to be. You don't need to be afraid. We were talking about how you said that for some people, hypnotherapy alone still not helping. So you incorporate more than just that. It is more holistic, right? And you being a coach and a trainer in the gym yourself, you're able to guide people through all the things beside their subconscious mind. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with your client?
Yeah, specifically with the weight loss piece.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So the first phase that we really take people through is clearing away the negative emotions, the limiting beliefs, the limiting decisions, right? If you have a belief that's like, I can't lose weight, or I'm a food addict, or I can't control myself, etc., then that's the reality that we're going to live in, right? Because our unconscious mind equals the reality that we live in. So whatever beliefs are going on in there is going to be the reality that you have. So through the process of using emotional mastery and all the thought work that we do, we support you in kind of getting clear on what those negative thoughts are, what the negative stories you've been telling yourself are, and then really looking at how to clear them out. Then the second phase is really looking at, you know, who are you at your most authentic self, right? So most of us, we just end up becoming what our parents were, right? So if you had a mom who is very health conscious like I had, or you had a adult in your life when you were growing up, you know, mentioned that your weight was too much, or you were bullied as a kid for some reason, then you're going to consistently, for the rest of your life, be insecure in that area of your life. And it may not be something that you actually felt insecure about at the time. So you're living from a place of trying to avoid rejection from people that loved you. And it also makes it non-sustainable for us because, again, any decision or life choice that's made from a place of, non-alignment and not who you actually are is going to feel challenging, it's going to feel hard, and not going to produce the results that you're really looking for. So yeah, wanting to get clear on like, what lifestyle do you want to live, even though society might say things are wrong about that, or all of the health information that you've taken on over the years says that this is bad and this type of food is bad and this is inflammatory and this is right. It's like that stuff is great, and I value the science, obviously. And if we're not making that empowered choice for ourselves because we know how it's going to support us and making us feel, then it's not sustainable. So once you actually own and declare what kind of lifestyle you want to have, what kind of eating you want to have, what kind of health you want to have, then it gets fun, because nobody can, your confidence gets to be as high as you knowing that you have integrity with yourself, regardless of what that looks like to anyone else. And then the third phase is really how to stay consistent, doing this work over time, right? My intention for all my clients is that they absolutely fall in love with this work, because it's so fascinating to understand more about ourselves and to uncover the different layers that really equal, who we are today. And then there's always more healing, there's always more awareness, there's always more things that we can create in our lives when we just keep practicing it. And then the more that we fall in love with the work, the less and less food becomes the thing that we're fixated on all the time. So the weight loss happens naturally, the more engaged you are with yourself and your life, and the better your relationship with yourself and others and your environment is.
Mm-hmm. Would you think this work also the opposite way, right? For some people, they may have the opposite problem, right? Problem losing weight, or problem keeping the weight that they want. Would that also work for them?
A problem keeping the weight that they want?
Yes.
Would
hypnotherapy
stay consistent with the weight that they want? Would it work for them? Oh yeah, 100%. That's exactly what the tools go to work on. It's like people that come to me, they've already lost weight, whether it was through gastric bypass or through dieting, right? It's happened before. They might be very health conscious. They know they like eating healthy. They value, the way that they've felt but why can't I stay consistent? And why is it just constantly up and down? So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how you can have the cleanest diet, you can have the best trainer, you can have, right, the best supplements in the whole world. But if you never learn how to master dealing with your environment, right, and the circumstances you can't control, your relationships, your family, right, major life events, etc., then you are going to continue producing stress hormones, right? That's going to create disease and havoc in the body. Not only that, the stress for people like us causes us to eat, right? Which just like compounds the issue. So by using these tools, it's essentially the way to master maintenance, right? And permanent weight loss.
Perfect. I like how you put that. It's not only about food. It's, some people can measure their food, can eat raw vegan, or can be just like eat the cleanest, and then they're still probably the sickest person on this planet. And when I was going through nutrition school, one of my teachers was saying that, it's funny because the people that he knows that go and eat hamburgers and party with their friends on the weekends and just eat whatever they want, those are the healthiest people. And the one that is so strict about their food are the one that, have all these health conditions. And like you said, it is the stress, and it's not being authentic with yourself, and not knowing how to maneuver life, right, through relationships and all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and you cover all that through your program. And how long is this program, Leslie?
Yeah, our signature program is called the Fast Track to Freedom program. Is 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we guarantee that you'll have mental and emotional freedom around food by the end of the program, as long as you do what we ask you to do while you're in the program. The program works every time that we work it. Otherwise, I work with people for free until they are. And I just believe in the program and our system so strongly that, again, when people work it, they get the result.
Exactly. Awesome. Awesome. And you also do different stuff with your clients, like you have different retreats all around the world, which is, pretty fun. And I encourage, Leslie's website, hpwl.co, and it stands for Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. That's where HPWL comes from, and .co. And you have retreats like in exotic and beautiful places like Thailand, where I'm from, and also Portugal. And is there any? I know you mentioned other locations, which kind of escape my mind right now.
Yeah, and Hungary, and I did do a retreat in Thailand in the past, and definitely a bunch. In the United States, we did one in Malibu and California, and
nice.
They're beautiful. I love the retreats.
Nice. And that kind of, put you in a location where you can change your lifestyle, right? You're away from all the stress, from all the things that it's a must do, right? And when people go to that type of retreat, do they need to go through your program first, or can they just sign up and learn everything there?
Yeah, they can sign up. One of Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how there's two ways that the brain can change. One is through learning something new, and one is through travel. Mm-hmm. Right? And when we're traveling, you've traveled, and anyone else who's traveled, like, you can't go back to unlearning that expansion that you feel like in your body and in your mind as you're immersed in a different culture and a different language and different society and everything. And I also know the challenges that come along with travel, and did for me. I lived abroad for 2.5 years. I lived in Australia. I backpacked around New Zealand, and did 12 countries in 2.5 years. And my food, body, and weight thoughts were extremely invasive. I, had journals where I'd be writing out, I can't believe I ate that, and, everything. While I'm in some of the most beautiful lands that are in our world, all that my brain could think about was, did I eat too much? Are my shorts going to fit tomorrow? And that was just very... it totally impacted my experience. And so I didn't want other people to have to do that. And I also wanted to honor the fact that there are so many people that just love to travel, and just want people to be able to have the best experience they can when they do travel without all of that drama in the background. And so I found a way to combine both my passion for travel and holding retreats that are very spiritually expanding, as well, of doing a lot of the belief work and just some of the NLP tools that we use, in addition to supporting people through all of the, food, body, and weight thoughts that can come up. So anyone is welcome to come on our trips.
Beautiful. You sold me on there. But, for people who have the opposite problem, like a lot of Asian, for example, they want to look healthy, but a lot of them are like super skinny, like you say, genetically or whatever food that they chose, right? I know with the Asian heritage, and I know with all different backgrounds too, we all have different genetic makeup, and for those people who want to gain weight and just have problem, they can eat all the things in the world and they just want to look healthy and not like a stick. And would that work for them as well?
Yeah, well, I think like anything's possible, right? So I think it's really important, just since we know that our belief system is what's going to give us our results, is that we, if we are challenged and we can't, figure out a way to do it on our own, just getting the right coach, getting the right accountability, getting the right support that you just feel really aligned with, and then going at it, 100%. With that said, with any goal that we have, so we want to watch the source of the motivation. So if the motivation to gain weight or to lose weight is because we're afraid of what's going to happen if we don't, or people are going to laugh at us, or people won't think we're beautiful or reject us, then, we're not necessarily doing it for ourselves. Right? So just with any sustainable success, we want to make sure that we're doing it because it feels authentic to what our true desires are, and maybe even a bigger why, of why that's so important for you to get past it. For me, I know that my soul is on a journey just to have emotional freedom in general. Yeah. So anything that's causing me stress and anxiety in any area of life, right? I just would love to not have that be there. And I know it doesn't need to be there. And so, just looking for yourself on, all the thousands of conversations I've had with people about why, if they weren't struggling with food, body, and weight anymore, what would open up? What do you really care about? They care about being present with their families. They want to be active. They want to be social. They want to feel confident in their clothes, right? They just want to live their lives and enjoy it. And I believe that, I don't even need to believe it. I see the evidence of every single person in every conversation saying the same exact thing. It's what we want. And so what we need to get, most people think that the way to get that is by losing weight. Mm-hmm. But what we've actually found is that the way to get that is to drop the attachment to need to lose weight now and faster and whatever, and to really start just learning how to better respond to your environment. Mm-hmm. And then we can actually produce those results. And the weight loss gets to happen as a side effect of you being more present now, by you being happy now, by you learning how to have confidence now with what you have right now, the body you're in, the life you're living, everything.
Yeah, beautifully said. And a lot of people eating just to feel better, right? Emotional eating and stuff like that. And once they feel better about themselves, they don't need all those external food.
That's right.
To satisfy, their needs, whatever that may be, and you work on all those areas.
That's right, 100%. I interviewed on our podcast a gastric bypass surgeon at one point, and she stopped actually giving the gastric bypass surgeries unless people went through a program like ours first. Mm-hmm. Because she found that even if she did all of the right things and pre-screened everyone and, showed that they were in fact qualified to get the surgery, that these people were gaining the weight back. And she felt like, I can't operate with integrity if this surgery doesn't actually help people. And she knew that they needed this. So how to respond better, boundaries with families, how to deal with emotions better, how to say no and set boundaries and work on the sneak eating and the binge eating and the why that's happening in the first place. So it's nice to see that it's catching on as something that's necessary. I've had so many clients who have had gastric bypass or, the sleeve or whatever, and they did lose weight at first and they were very happy with it, but then they told me that they found loopholes, that they found ways to eat, and the weight did in fact come back on, and they knew that and then after doing the program, they found that they could actually walk away from desserts without even thinking about it and being able to say no easily, and that was the missing piece for them.
Nice for them. It was also like more self-control, right? You can control your thoughts. Like you said, Joe Dispenza, I look into his work too. Amazing work. And he was saying that we have all these different thoughts running through our head, right? Thousands and thousands of thoughts. And we don't monitor it. And subconsciously, it just pop up. And if we're not aware of it, it just gonna work either for you or against you. Depends on what those thoughts are, right? And the thoughts drive you to choose your action, right? And your action result into emotion, and your emotion result into your experience, which is, in this case, your experience is you're gaining weight. And when you can control all that, then, voila. And unless there are some underlying things which you have other tools that you work with your clients on. And just to go back on the retreat, and I just love retreats, and I think that's like the best way to change lifestyle, to receive, right, new information. And it's the best way to transform when you like really take the time, 3-4 days a week, and just like process everything, and doing that with other people is a group support, right? And you have that on top of whatever information that you teach them. That is amazing. And what do you think is the one important thing that your clients walk away with when they're working with you?
I think they really realize who they are as a result of doing the program. For many people, they realize pretty quickly that this journey is about way more than the food. The constant feedback that I get was like, Leslie, I thought I was going to get this and I got way more. Because they really get to wake up to why they are the way they are in every single aspect of their lives, and how that affects their eating and how it affects their relationships. And they're no longer obsessed with food. And, I just had a woman the other day at the end of her program say, like, I wake up every day and I'm not immediately analyzing, what am I going to eat today? How am I going to work out today? Do I feel fat today? Do I feel skinny today? She has that emotional and mental freedom. It doesn't mean that there aren't still things that trigger us or create a reaction in the body, but she now knows how to actually go towards that. And they're not scared of those thoughts anymore. They're not scared of those feelings anymore. And again, they're better able to respond to it. So all of the above.
Nice. When I also work with some clients who, I used to own a spa, and we have this machine that melts fat, right? So I get to see all kinds of people. And, there are people who actually, they didn't eat that much. Like they literally did not eat enough. Like if you look at the, basal metabolic rate, right? They supposed to be eating at least 1,500 calories, for example, and then they eat like maybe 700 calories a day, and then they're still, just gaining weight and cannot lose weight. And that has to do with how their metabolism, right, adjusts to what they eat. And how have you ever worked with this type of client, and how did they do with your program?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a lot of times I'll have that, and someone will say, like, I really don't eat anything during the day. I'll just have a cup of coffee or 5, and I'm just working all day long, and my real issue is at the end of the day, I'm just eating and eating and eating, and so we really need to look at, when we're in diet mentality, if you're going throughout the day, and even if you're like, there's this little sneaky part of our minds that will be like, I'm being good today. I'm being good. I'm not eating anything. I'm being good. And what we don't realize is that there's this little, again, sneaky part that's saying like, and this means that later we can have a party. I'm going to have all the food that I want to have. And so I always support people in like, you get to eat any way you want to eat. You're a grown ass woman or man, and you get to choose what life you want to live and what you want to fuel your body with. And so there's no judgment. And I share my experience of that, and when I was way overeating at night, it was because I wasn't eating enough during the day. The other issue was that I was saying no to my desires during the day. So if I really wanted to have a piece of candy, or I wanted to have a soda or something during the day, and I said no, and I white-knuckled myself to be good and to stay perfect with my eating plan, it backfired later. And I'd end up having way more sugar at the end of the day, which is not the best time to have it. And so I really encourage clients to play around with it and say like, well, what if I do eat during the day? And what if I do actually say yes to my desires when I want to have them without any judgment? And what my clients find is that it decreases the binging at nighttime, right? And that pattern gets to go away. And just overall, just having, way more of that food that you're trying to avoid later than if you actually just said yes to having it today.
Nice. You mentioned one time, and we spoke a few times, that 95% of our unconscious mind is beliefs, right? And that's what you work on, is the belief. And can you speak into that 95% and how is that impacted so many people? And you see, the US alone, right? How many percentage of people are actually obese? It's like ungodly high percentage. Mm-hmm. And that's just sad. And, how do you work with people so that 95% of their, unaware become an awareness?
Yeah. Well, if you even think about a picture of an iceberg, right? You can all kind of visualize an iceberg. And so if we were on a boat on the surface of the water and we just came upon this iceberg, we'd be like, whoa, that's massive. This huge thing of ice in the middle of the ocean. And that represents, that iceberg, the conscious mind. So as you're going throughout your day and you're thinking about everything that we think about to manage our day, which, by the way, we only can think about 3 things in our day-to-day life when our brain is idle and just left to its own devices. Number 1 is the environment, right? It's hot in here. It's cold in here. Number 2 is time. I'm going to be late for that meeting. I have to be there at 3 p.m. The third thing is your body. I feel fat today. I feel skinny today. I feel bloated, whatever it is. And so it's not really that interesting, but it's where our brains are occupied, and it feels huge. It feels like the only thing that exists, right, are these thoughts that just go at 100 million miles per hour. If we were to scuba dive underneath the surface of that iceberg, we would realize that it is way bigger than what we saw on the surface. Okay, so this represents the unconscious mind. So the blueprint of the unconscious mind is laid out in the first 0 to about 10 years of your life. So if you think about the way that you thought from age 0 to 10, it's very black and white thinking. You're just making associations. There's new neural pathways that are just forming based on the family system that you had, right? And the way that they dealt with everything. And our unconscious mind's job is to keep us safe and to have us survive. And so you learn from a young age, like, oh, if I make this move, right, or I say this thing and someone yells at me, for example, then that means I'm at risk to not survive anymore. So then you may learn to not speak up anymore, to not express yourself anymore, etc. And so then, but that energy needs to go somewhere. And if we're not taught how to effectively deal with our emotions and our energy and communication, then we're going to feel anxious in our body. And what we learn is that food actually comforts the anxiety. And oftentimes, even the first thing you're introduced to in life is, your mom's milk, right? And so that's very nurturing and nourishing. And anytime the baby cries, it's like, let's feed them. Right? And so, anytime that a parent is like, oh my gosh, I just need the kid to, let's feed them. Okay. So it just becomes like this way to numb it out. And so it's so innocent, right? It's just the patterns that's happening. And so we have the opportunity to then, neuroplasticity has shown that we can rewrite the scripts, that we can create new neural connections in the brain that create a different result. And the way that we change the unconscious mind is through repetition and through emotion. So when we repeatedly, which is why coaching programs are great, and you're always going to, if you just stay in the conversation with other people who have the same beliefs, the same thoughts, the same habits, the same goals, then we can't help but our brain to start to change. I remember when I was doing this journey for myself, and previously in my old mind, I would scroll through Facebook, for example, and if I saw someone who was very overweight, I'd be like, oh my gosh, they're really overweight, they're unhealthy, that's sad, maybe they're going through a really bad time. And then as I started changing my brain and having a different conversation about food, body, and weight, I remember I scrolled through Facebook and I saw someone who was bigger, and the first thought that I immediately had automatically was, that woman looks so happy. I love her outfits. Looks like she's so enjoying her family in this photo. And in that moment, I like stunned myself. I was like, oh, that was my first thought. My brain is changing. Mm-hmm. Right. So this is what we're doing, is we are just using the science of how the mind works to create new beliefs and new habits so that you can get in alignment with where you know you want to go now, which for my clients, they're very clear that they don't want to diet anymore. They don't want to do the up and down thing anymore. And they want to actually tackle this at its source. And they want to have permanent freedom. They want to have consistency. They want to feel motivated and, feel purpose and passion in their life. And then they know that this is the right coaching container for them, which I really believe that all of our souls are on different journeys. And this message will resonate for some people, and for some other people it will not. And maybe later in the future it will. Right. And then when we're ready for it, then we want to pivot. And then as soon as I become aware of the new belief system I want to have for myself, because I know my values have changed or I'm into a different phase of my life, I will find a coach that has that same belief system, and I will invest my money into their program, and I will study how they think, and I will read all the books they read, and I will be around the people that they attract. And it changes my brain, and then I get different results, and I'll just rinse and repeat over and over again.
Nice. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Mm-hmm. I believe that 100%.
Definitely.
Let's go back to in the beginning when you realized that what you were doing to yourself was unhealthy, but it wasn't really until you realized that you were gaining all this weight, right? When that happened, what was that defining moment? I know you're saying you were gaining like 30 pounds and all that stuff. What was that defining moment? And were you still in nursing at that time?
Yeah, the defining moment that I realized that I needed to get past this.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it happened in different phases. The first one was when I was in college and I gained the weight and I knew I needed help, and then I found the hypnosis. And that gave me a lot of freedom, but I still found out that there was more work to do. I didn't have the emotional mastery piece yet. I didn't have the mindset piece yet to how to have total freedom. And so I actually found myself in a food addiction program for 3 years. And I had no sugar, no flour. I weighed and measured every meal. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't drink caffeinated coffee. Basically no fun for 3 years. And I thought that was freedom, and I bought into this belief that, yes, I am a food addict and I can't control myself and my brain is broken. It was like all these messages, and ended up becoming like, I didn't really have huge binges. And then I was starting to participate in more binging behavior. And I just started looking at it and being like, this can't be actually healthy. Like, I wasn't doing this before, and now after starting this, I'm doing this more. And even the leader of the program was binging, and I was like, "There's no way that this is it." And so then I continued, and I found that there was other people who, had even worse eating disorders than I had. I self-diagnosed myself as having orthorexia, which is basically just the obsession with, like, I knew how every inflammatory food affected my body, and gluten and dairy. And I knew, about, autoimmune disease and how that happened. All the disease, I knew all the things. But it got to the point where I was terrified of eating any food that was, I studied that caused any havoc on the body. And so I, again, kind of got to this place of just being like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get out of this. Because it really got my brain to start believing that I can't trust myself. I can't trust my food decisions. And I've talked to some psychotherapists who have tons of training in this, and they've worked with tons of clients in addiction. And what they found was that people who had issues with alcohol and with drugs, like they did need to have a program like a 12-step program, because if they had one sip of a drink, they could actually kill themselves or kill other people. And it was like a fast, scary, like they needed to believe that they couldn't trust themselves. It was like almost like they had this like arrogance and ego that needed to have that, be drilled into them. But with food, what this therapist found, and she shared with me, and I agree based on what I see and my personal experience, that it was completely different. That people who had issues with food really had a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-confidence. They needed to believe in themselves. They needed to trust themselves. They needed to actually be empowered in making these food decisions and all decisions in their life, and increase their confidence. And so, by way of my starting to learn how to do all of that, and that's when the full thing came together, and we have the program that we have today that guarantees people have that emotional and mental freedom at the end.
Nice. Thank you for explaining that. I'm sure our guests appreciate that. And before we come to an end, I can't believe the time had gone by so quickly. You mentioned something about finding yourself through this process, about awakening to your spiritual self and all that stuff, which is good stuff. I believe in all that. And how can you weave all that into like the weight loss, and people come to you for weight loss, and then they get more than just weight loss. They found themselves, and if people have certain belief system and especially religious and stuff like that, would they fit in? Just to clarify for people who are afraid to join the program because of certain religious belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember around the same time that I found the hypnosis, I found this yogi online because I Googled how to achieve inner peace. And something that I read of his or saw in a video that he did was, it said, you are not your body. Your body is just an accumulation of food that you've ingested from the time you were in your mother's womb until now. If it wasn't for food, you would absolutely have no body. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next part was, you are not your mind. Your mind is just an accumulation of thoughts that are there now based on what you've experienced in the past. If you were born on a different planet, different country, different family, you'd be thinking entirely different thoughts. And that one got me, because I was like, wait a second, I was so identified with my thinking. I thought that my thoughts were me. And I kind of was just like stunned by that, of like, well, if I'm not my body and I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? So that's all great to hear on a conceptual level, but there's still that like skepticality. But then when I experienced the hypnosis and I actually experienced the separation between my thoughts and just presence, that's when it really changed for me, right? Of just being like, oh my gosh, right? Like, so if I'm not my thoughts, then I'm this infinite creator conscious being that can literally change the circumstances of my reality at any time if I just learn how to master what the heck is going on here. And to me, that was just fascinating, and why I still do what I do today. So, once people realize that same thing through the same process that I did, through the hypnosis and through all the somatic and healing and emotional mastery work that we provide, that's what they get, And so then it's just like, well, if I'm not my thoughts, then I'm just thinking, like, it's just like having a tape player of whatever your stressful situation is that you've been dealing with decades, that's just playing every day, all the time. And it's not really that special, and obviously many, many people on this planet are playing that same tape because that's why the weight loss industry is a $6 billion industry or more at this point, right? And they are monopolizing off the fact that this is where your brain goes and the fact that this is what it does. And so then once we learn how to quiet and stop the tape, right, through everything that you get in our program, then it's like, now we have a blank slate. Now there's all this mental real estate. And now we realize like anything's possible and you can create it with anything. So naturally, it's just like that is a spiritual awakening for so many people. And they just get excited about life. And doesn't mean there aren't still challenges as we continue that path, but at least the challenges we know are happening for us, right? There's so much of just learning more, about yourself and about how you are the way you are and all the different types of things. And so, pretty soon people are not thinking about the food as much and really focusing on the new passion.
Nice. Thank you so much for that, Leslie. And if our listener want to find out more about what you offer, they can visit your website at hpwl.co, and I'll put the link down below. And you can also email Leslie at lesliemthornton.com. And you also have a Facebook, hpwl.info/Facebook, and an Instagram at Leslie M Thornton. And you are full of information, Leslie. This is a whole lot more than what you told me earlier. And I'm like, let me squeeze some more out of her. You are amazing. And I'm sure your clients, love you to death. And if they will fly across the ocean, to spend, it's a whole week of, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. And your next one is in Portugal, and depends on when our listener listen to this, and, you're probably going to be sold out by then. But I'm sure you're planning, another one soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We have ongoing trips. Yes.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And I want to show you something before we go. I know our time's coming up, and there's a ribbon. It's blue, and it said, "Who I am makes a difference." And we like to honor people with the blue ribbon. And may I present you this? I just want to honor you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to honor you because who you are makes a difference. And I really appreciate you, for coming on this podcast and for, enlighten me and our listener, our viewer about, hypnotherapist for weight loss. And I'm sure a lot of people who, run into a situation where they don't know where to go to Leslie, and Leslie can help you. And I really want to honor you for that, for sharing your life story, sharing your wisdom, and spending the time with us. And who you are makes the difference. And it go right here on your heart, pointing up to the sky, where all your dreams come true. And with that said, I want to ask you the 3 wishes that you want. If you have a genie in a bottle and you have 3 wishes, what would those 3 wishes be?
I was so excited for this question, and I'm going to refer to my notes because I wanted to make sure that I answered my first wish. So I do wish that the whole world knew about the unconscious mind and experienced themselves as the creator of their own lives, and knowing that anything is possible. That's number 1. Number 2, I wish the whole world knew how to do emotional mastery. I'm really passionate about families and kids growing up in environments that lead them to be successful humans. I think we need that now more than ever. And I believe that without the emotional mastery and the consciousness about how we're being and acting and, recreating patterns, that it affects it. And so my second wish is that the whole world knew emotional mastery, so that people's happiness and quality of life and our planet can improve. And the third one is this is a personal, kind of more, personal thing, is that I wish to be the best intentional / conscious manifester, like really quick and really fast in the world, and be known for it, to have true financial freedom, helping others do the same thing.
Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. And guess what? Your blue ribbon here have a cheerleader on there. And it is a tradition for me to put a spark for my heart and put it on the cheerleader, put it on you, and it make a sound bing, where all your wishes come true.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.